The Special Needs Kids Are People Too podcast with Amy Bodkin, EDS. Amy is an autistic adult who also happens to be a school psychologist turned special needs consultant and public speaker. She's also a homeschooling mom to 2 autistic kiddos, a yoga instructor, a card-carrying Trekkie, and an all-around fun person. And last but not least, Amy is an advocate for seeing every child as a person, not a diagnosis. Because a special needs kid is just like any other child, just more so. Here's Amy Bodkin.
Hi, I'm Amy Bodkin, and welcome to another special episode of Special Needs Kids Are People Too. Today, I have another special guest with me, and her name is Melissa Goolsby. She was my daughter's speech therapist back when she was having speech therapy. And we absolutely love Melissa at our house. Today, Melissa is not just a speech therapist. She also runs her own therapy center called Across the Board in town. And they have a lot of really wonderful people working over at Across the Board. I know many of the therapists over there, and they're all really good people. So I wanted to invite Melissa to come on, tell us a little more about Across the Board, and then I've got questions for you about how do parents go ahead and figure out how to find good therapists. So tell us about Across the Board first.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate this. You and I can chat all day.
Yes, we can.
So many great things. So you might have to rein me in a little today, but
that's okay.
But Across the Board Therapy Group is serves children and families with occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, and applied behavior analysis therapy. We established this group so that it would help parents with running from here to there and just kind of the logistics of a special needs child who might need services, but it has morphed into much more than that. We're truly a family that relies on each other's expertise to learn and grow within our own field, because there's so much crossover between physical therapy and speech therapy, and even. And before we really got into this cooperative center, where we're really collaborating, I'm not sure if I necessarily recognized that as a young therapist. So that's really kind of where our jam is collaborating between the disciplines.
Well, and it's such a wonderful point, Melissa, because I've noticed that too. There are things that I miss from my school psychology background. Even though we tend to look kind of at the big picture, there's a lot of details that I'm not as aware of. Mm-hmm. And I love it when I'm able to collaborate with other people and get different takes on things. Yeah. And I remember running the therapy bus when my kids were small and going all over town and actually to the next town to get all the different therapies covered. So I think that's fantastic that you guys are able to keep things all in one house. And you and I have talked before that sometimes therapists do not get as good a quality training as we'd like. Yes. And being able to work with other therapists with different training can only make us better.
1,000%. Even if it's something that you don't necessarily agree with a treatment strategy, when you go to a conference and things of that nature and you hear different perspectives, and maybe it's not a perspective that resonates with you, but 100% of the time you're going to pull something from it that does resonate with you. Mm-hmm. So, and that's the way between all of these different fields is we're able to pull something into everything. Every single treatment session, you're able to pull something from another discipline that fits and feels right. And so we never stop learning from each other. And I'm grateful for that. As soon as you stop learning, you stop growing.
Exactly. That's so perfect.
Yeah. And who wants to stop growing? I mean, I would like to stop growing my waistline, but but that's not happening. So I might as well embrace that too. I'm embracing my bigger pant size.
But it's such a good point though, because I think it's when we reach a point, and I definitely had this moment coming out of graduate school where I was like, oh, I've learned it all now.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing. Oh, and then I got a lot of humble pie served up. And I was like, oh, I do not. And
No,
it really makes you better when you realize I've got to keep growing. There's so much more for me to learn. Who was it who said that you should always have books around your house that you haven't read yet to remind you of how much there is left to know?
Oh, that's so great. That is so true. Every time I watch a new documentary or look at or hear somebody talk about a book, that is such a reminder of, wow, we've got to continue to absorb.
Exactly. So, Melissa, I think one of the biggest challenges for parents when they're looking at therapy for the first time for their kids is that they've got to find the right one. And there's so many choices these days, which is a real plus, because I remember back in the day when I had to go to the next town to get certain therapies because we didn't have one in town. So that is good, but at the same time, more choices can sometimes make it difficult for people to decide what's the best place to support my family and my child's growth in a positive way. And especially if you have a child who doesn't speak or communicate in some form, it's more obvious then, I think, that we are the barrier that protects our kids from other people who might intentionally or unintentionally harm them, whether it's a relative or some other adult in a child's life. So with being in a therapy situation, you get to spend a lot of intimate time with families and kids. And so I think the real challenge for a lot of parents when they first start is, okay, how do I know? And especially if they've had a negative experience in the past, how do I find someone that I can trust to support my family without being concerned that there may be some kind of harm going on? I've told you before, I interrogate dentist offices before we go because my dad was a dentist and I worked with him for several years off and on. And so I call and interrogate them and go, okay, what's your turnover rate? How do you like your boss? How many hours a week do y'all work? How do you feel about saving the original tooth?
Yeah.
And I think they would think I'm crazy when I call up, but I have found some fantastic dentists that way.
Yes, that is awesome. That is awesome.
You've got to know the questions to ask or the things to think about or the things to look for. Yes. And nobody knows better, I think, than somebody who's actually worked in the field and sees the behind the scenes. And obviously it's different because you run your own therapy center. And honestly, the reason I wanted to have you on is because I know what kind of person you are. And that's why I love what you do, because you always looked at Jessica and were just so tickled by how amazing she was. And not every therapist had that perspective when they met Jessica. Sometimes they were like, oh my. And you're always like, she is just so great.
I love it. I love that those that can kind of march to their own drum with such a free spirit is not something that I think necessarily needs to be squashed. So I wish more of us would be a little more free. But yeah, so I think probably I don't have a particular specific list of questions, unfortunately, because so much of this, as far as if a therapy center is going to be the right fit for you, is going to be how you feel. How do you feel as a parent when you walked in? Do you feel like you're being judged? Do you feel like it's more about controlling a child than having a child buy in to what you're doing, and so that they can learn more and grow more? It's not about walking into a room and you will do this. It's all about, hey, this is so much fun. Let's do it together, and find those motivations that are important to them, and you meet them at that motivation, whatever that motivation may be.
What it is they want to be able to do.
Yes.
Jessica was so frustrated not being able to communicate. I remember she just exhibited just so much frustration the day that I called you. And I remember very clearly, we had a moment and I was like, oh my gosh, this poor child is frustrated. She cannot, like, there's some kind of a block going on here and it has something to do with her communication. So I called you up and I was like, I got a problem. This kid's really frustrated. We need to be in now. But it was because it was something that was important to her. She was frustrated and she wanted to move forward. And I think that's probably some of the easier kids that you get to meet, is ones where they figured out, this is what I need. I just don't know how to get there.
Don't know how to get there. 1,000%. That's half of the battle. Sometimes we get, maybe some really early learners in here to where all of their needs are getting met by mom, who's very anticipatory and knows their needs before the kid even knows their needs. I mean, because they're just really tuned in. And so they don't necessarily find that communication might be frustrating because they're still getting all of their needs met. It starts to happen whenever there needs to be communication maybe outside of that mom. And that's where some of those harder, motivations are to find. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. That makes total sense, because sometimes if you've got everything that you need, why do you need to grow?
Yeah.
I mean, we do that as adults too. Yes. If everything's going great, then why do we want to put ourselves through the effort of growing more? There's something that always gets us started in thinking, oh, I would like to do something about that. Whether it's, wow, I should really take charge of my health and do something positive for my health. Or maybe it's, wow, I've been in this rut as far as like my mental, emotional health, and I would like to do something to change the direction that I'm moving in.
Yeah, for sure. I even recently had this epiphany I've always wanted to learn some sort of musical instrument, but this is, my job takes a lot of time, and there's a lot of things outside of the office, because it's still what my primary motivator is. But for my own emotional well-being, I would really love music. Isn't so powerful to me, so powerful. So then, taking on the time at 50 to learn a musical instrument is
not easy.
Yeah, no, it's going to be super challenging, but I do recognize that as a need, and it is a new motivator. It is a new motivator.
Yeah, and so I guess you're doing a lot of the same thing with kids.
Yes, identifying new motivators, 1,000%. That motivators they don't even know that they have yet. And some with like Jess, she came in knowing her motivator, but those might not know it. Then it has to be an environment that sort of solicits new motivators.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe dig to find what those motivators are that are hiding underneath. I mean, you've probably always been somewhat motivated with music. If it's something that you're interested in now, there has to have been some kind of lurking initial interest that maybe you just hadn't really fully uncovered or had the motivation to really go forward with.
Yeah. But something, is now there, and now it's motivating.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you hire a lot of therapists.
Yeah.
Because you run an entire center with all sorts of different disciplines. So what are some of the kinds of things that you look for in therapists that you guys have in your office?
Probably the biggest one is that their field was a calling, not a job. Mm-hmm. If you went into any of the therapy areas for the purposes of making money, or it just sounded good. Those are the ones that I think you can identify pretty quickly because they're going to get frustrated. You have to have the heart, just like with you and parenting. If you didn't have the love that you have for your child, would you be able to put up with what you put up with every day?
No, I think it's why kids are so cute when they're small. It keeps us motivated to make sure we take good care of them.
Yes. So and motherhood was a calling for you. So the same with a therapist. If it feels like it is truly a calling and it's your heartstrings and you are you're in service of this family, then you're going to be a good therapist. A lot of the other things you can learn if you don't have the expertise with some of the behavioral procedures that we use. And when I say behavioral procedures, because I know that that's a big trigger right now, it's the positive reinforcement systems that we use. It's identifying motivators that motivates kids, and then you use those. It's establishing instructional control, which is cooperation. It is not tyranny, it's cooperation.
Well, and also it's what we experience with adults too in life. If you do a job, you get paid for it. If you do a job and don't get paid for it, then we're taking advantage of you. So, there is that component, whether, you're teaching a child in a school, a homeschool, they're working in a therapy center with you. When you work hard, you deserve to get reimbursed for your effort.
Yes, that is very true. Because unfortunately, that's part of life. Some of those financial reimbursements, we have to have them to survive. So that is very important too, but it can't be the primary motivator or you just won't last long in this field.
Right.
Or you won't last successfully, I guess. And when I mean success, it's not about how many kids you got to talk and that kind of thing, but success for your own well-being too, as well as the well-being of the people that you are servicing. Because if you're constantly in a battle, to me, of trying to put a square peg in a round hole, golly, you're just going to be no, you're just going to be exhausted. And so that is some of the things.
Manage it. You've carved the curves off of, or the corners off the square by that point, and you don't have a square anymore.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. So I think that's important with clinicians. And I will tell you that sometimes if we've hired someone who might not fit that same common goal, because this business now has a heartbeat of its own. And sometimes if a foreign body, it takes care of it itself, in the sense of they don't feel fulfilled and neither do your coworkers. So sometimes then we just go and find fulfillment. They might find that fulfillment elsewhere. And so, but for the most part, people will, even if they come in and not realizing that it was a calling, and then they get in here and they're around all of these people who it is a calling, they begin to morph into this beautiful servant, servant of others. And that's something that's super, super important to the heartbeat of this company.
I think you really hit on it with the word servant. Because I think kids have a tendency to be vulnerable populations just because they don't have the ability to advocate for themselves in any setting, because they're kids. Kids don't have as many, the Bill of Rights doesn't always seem to apply to children across the board because they're children. But the whole servant concept, the idea of my goal here is to serve you and to help you grow as a person in the direction that you need to grow in. I think that really kind of sums it up. Because that's what I saw when we were working with you with Jessica for her speech. You were always there to be positive and supportive of us growing into the people that we were supposed to become. And this was many, many moons ago, and a whole lot of this was back before either of us were diagnosed. So, so yeah, I think that was it though, because I mean, yes, you can walk into a facility and they can be positive and they can be, nice and seem like they're your cheerleader. But I think you can tell the subtle difference between when someone is cheerleading you into what they think you need to be in versus cheerleading you as you're becoming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which isn't quite the same thing.
Right, exactly. And supporting them and becoming the person that they are meant to be. And sometimes that's hard things. Sometimes that might be, okay, we got to teach you to self-regulate so that you're not interrupting your peers' conversations all the time. That's not necessarily fun or easy, but isn't it important for them to have meaningful relationships with peers?
And also, is it important to them at that point? It might not be that it's important to them yet, but it might be later down the road.
Yes.
So maybe it's something else that's more important to them at the moment that has to, be worked through first. Like, if you have to reach the point of being at a point where you want to have those meaningful relationships where there's back and forth.
Yeah.
But maybe the first thing is learning to be more expressive yourself.
Yeah.
Because appreciating the back and forth is harder when you don't feel like you can put it out there yourself.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. Those foundational skills will need to be addressed. I mean, or established, not addressed, but for that building block. Yeah.
It all goes in order. And I guess figuring out where a child is specifically, I mean, that tells you a lot about their motivation. Because if a child's language is at a specific level, then they're not really ready to be working on reading and writing. If you can't speak well or communicate well or have some sense of language, trying to learn to read and write, I mean, language develops in a specific order, doesn't it? That's what I was taught in school psychology.
Yes. Yeah.
That's not my specialty.
But yes, there are typical patterns of development. Yes. And stepping stones. And not only with language concepts, but social concepts. Before
social concepts stem from language.
1,000%. You're not going to be able to look at somebody's and take in somebody's perspective if you don't have the receptive language to understand your own perspective first.
Yeah.
And then you go into those, I'm thinking about you, thinking about me. And the whole taking into perspective the communication partner. So those are my favorite things.
Well, you always did fantastic with it with Jessica, just helping her make those connections. I always tell people that I felt like you gave her and us the gift of communication. I know you always argue with me that she didn't, but I always feel like you played a huge role in that because you're developing a positive relationship with communication and you're facilitating that between parent and child. And being able to facilitate a positive connection makes such a difference. One of Jessica's little friends has had a lot of negative feelings about the speech therapy that she had when she was young. Jessica has nothing but positive things to say about her experience with speech therapy. And I think a lot of it was the difference in the person and the approach.
Yes, 1,000%. And I can see to where things can, I mean, you have a 30-minute session and you're like, this kid is missing this and this concept or skill. And I feel this pressure and to really kind of get this done. And so sometimes it looks a little bit more demanding or maybe even punitive in some ways with, establishing a little bit of control, instructional control. But true instructional control is cooperation, relationship. And that all has to come before I learn correct use of pronouns. Before I learn irregular verbs, before I learn how to express my emotions. All of that trust has to be established and maintained, because you can lose it. I've even experienced this myself, to where I have this beautiful positive relationship with a child, and one day we were doing a task and I didn't read the room, and I didn't stop the task when it needed to be stopped. I lost my pairing. It took me 3 weeks to get that pairing back. So it happens. And without a positive pairing, you're not going to get very far. So just start back over and start that relationship building again. And then, being more cognizant of when there is a threshold approaching and what you need to do as that threshold is approaching, so that you don't lose that positive pairing. But I missed his threshold. I didn't see it.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Hi, I'm Amy Bodkin from Amy Bodkin Consulting. As an autistic adult, former school psychologist, and homeschooling mom to 2 fantastic autistic kids, I am extremely passionate about spreading the word that special needs kids are people too. We all have needs that fall outside of the average at some point in our lives, whether that's due to trauma, differences in development, differences in sensory perceptions, or differences in learning. And when we recognize and admit that we all have differences that fall outside the average, it allows us to see each other eye to eye as human beings, to humanize each other, and to be able to support each other better by acknowledging that we all need help at some point. Please join us over at our website, amybodkin.com, where it is as easy as ABC. Ally with us through our podcast, boost your skills through our educational resources, and connect with us in our special online community. See you over there at amybodkin.com.
You see that with parenting too. I mean, well, nobody's a perfect parent, and there's always things where like, oh, I wish I'd done that differently.
Every day.
But it is. And with parenting, it's the relationship too. And I mean, the relationship is the sum of the things we do, but it also comes back to, I think, in a lot of ways, intent. And that's so hard to judge. You're right. This is just such a difficult thing to pinpoint, that a lot of it comes down to feeling when you meet the people. Do I feel like I can be me? Do I feel like I can be me as a parent, and that I'm not having to, okay, we've got it together. We're coming in and nobody can judge us because we've got it together today.
Yes. And when it needs to be, I see your hot mess. I've been that hot mess. Come on in.
Bring your hot mess with you. We'll serve it a cup of sweet tea or coffee, whatever your choice is.
That's very, very true. Yes. Yeah. So I think if a parent feels supported in an environment, then they're going to be open to learning new skills. Just like the child, if the child feels supported in an environment, they're going to be open and ready to learn new skills. And so the support is ultimately, I think, what you need in a successful therapeutic relationship.
So if the parent feels supported and that the therapist kind of sees your hot mess and says, hey, come on in, we like hot messes, then perhaps they would also be able to establish that kind of relationship with your child as well.
Yeah, for sure. 1,000%.
Maybe one thing you could do as a parent when you're, maybe overwhelmed and you're like, I'm not sure, is maybe you could go, hey, I'd like to come in and meet the therapist as the parent and go, hey, I'm trying to figure out if you're a good fit for my child.
Yes.
This is who we are. Can you work with us? What can you do for us? What are you all about?
Absolutely. I think meeting a therapist, and it's hard in this particular clinic. we don't know which therapist you're going to end up with because it depends on your schedule and that kind of thing. But I think definitely touring a facility is always a good thing. You're going to get a feeling in a sense from that tour, I think. And then once you do go through the evaluation and you are with a therapist, if you don't feel that that's a positive relationship, there's probably 5 others to choose from.
Mm-hmm.
And just like we're not going to be friends with everyone, every therapist doesn't have to be your only. That therapist that you started with might not have the perfect fit, and that's okay.
Yes.
Try someone else.
I remember that with my youngest.
Yes.
We went through multiple therapists with that kid.
Yeah.
Because none of them were the right fit. And I couldn't necessarily define why they weren't, but they just weren't.
Yeah. And nothing wrong with a therapist. It doesn't mean that the therapist is bad.
A lot of people loved the therapist, and the therapists were very effective with other students. But
yes.
I think in his case, a lot of it was more the fact that he was very hyperlexic, and there weren't as many people in the area who were as familiar with hyperlexia at the time. And that was a big part of people being able to see and understand him, was understanding that letters and words are extremely important to him.
Yeah, that's his motivator.
Yeah, and also the fact that it made it a huge difference in how he gravitated towards language and communication. When you worked with Jessica, you suggested sign language, and it was a perfect fit for her. Like the lights just started going off. But with Austin, sign language was a disaster. He couldn't hold the signs for more than a second. Like I'd shape his hands and he couldn't hold them, but he learned to read himself. And when we started writing things down for him, he could communicate better because he could see it with his eyes.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's 2 beautiful examples of how they got to the same end. They're communicators now. They took different paths to get there.
Yeah. And it was the relational aspect of it, because it's going, okay, well, what do you connect with? What do you love? What makes sense in your brain? What can we offer to help expand your world?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And I think knowing the why is another good point of when you're in these therapeutic relationships. And okay, so maybe you aren't understanding why the therapist is targeting something during a play routine. Understanding the why, I think, will help a lot in the relationship. Okay, so why did you do it this way? Or why is your expectation or your target this particular skill set? And then the therapist can explain, well, this is a stepping stone, or right now I'm pairing, so I'm establishing buy-in. So you'll see that I'll use one of the behavior concepts that we use a lot throughout all the therapy sessions is that behavior momentum. So I had him do 3 very easy tasks, and then I throw in that one that's a little bit more difficult, and it increases the likelihood that that task is going to be successful for him when you use behavior momentum.
Because we come into things feeling more confident when we've been able to do things.
Yes, exactly. So if the therapist has an opportunity, or maybe because a lot of times they are doing this instinctually, the therapist is, but the parent doesn't have that instinct yet, but will. So if they just ask a particular why question, I think that's also helpful with relationship.
Yeah, well, and I remember doing that actually with you, because I would go back with Jessica and watch the whole time. All right, what is she doing? I'm going, okay, why is she doing that? And trying to figure out the pattern of how does this all work? Because I always think in patterns anyways. So when I'm watching someone's behavior, I'm like, where's the pattern? Oh, this is what we're working on. And then if I had a question, I'd always ask you about it. But it made it a lot easier to support her growth and learning, because I was participating in that relationship with you and her.
Yes.
And with Austin, it was different because with Austin, I had to tell the therapist about hyperlexia because it wasn't really something that was well understood at the time.
Yeah.
And I was bringing them books. Try reading this.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a perfect example of where you can, if a therapist is open to not only learning from each other, but learning from parents.
Yeah.
Because that can be kind of a cool thing too.
Yeah, and also parents know their children better than anybody else. And so a lot of times you can figure out what will and will not work based on what the parent's able to tell you about that child.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I did that with piano lessons with the kids, not even therapy, just piano lessons. I'd tell the teacher, I'm like, okay, so this is what you're doing. This is how he's thinking. So what we need to do is figure out a way to get to here. We need to go through this particular thought process in his mind. And the one we're trying to use that's traditional is not working.
Yeah. Yes. That's awesome.
But I don't know enough about piano to know how to help them do that.
Right.
But if I can give my observations as the mother to the teacher, then the teacher's able to go, oh, okay, I can work with that.
Yes, 1,000%. Yeah, that's so important.
That the therapist or the teacher doesn't have the day in and day out experience with the child that a parent does, because nobody knows your kid like your parent does because they live with you.
Yes.
They see it all.
That's very true. That's very true. And I think it's also, if you look at it from a little bit of a different perspective, the parent does know the child the best because they're with them, they're living with them. They, they're everything. But if you take that learning history away, and the therapist has a fresh pair of eyes and doesn't have that reinforcement history, they might know something that you have that as a parent hasn't recognized yet.
Because you can't see, because you have a unique relationship with your child. So there's things that aren't going to present around you. Yes,
1,000%. And so it is truly, we keep going back to that word. It's a relationship, but it is. Yeah. It's a relationship with the family and the child with the common goal of the child's development. But that you can really, one doesn't supersede the other at all.
One doesn't supersede the other at all. Which ones? Like
a parent doesn't supersede what the therapist can contribute. The therapist doesn't supersede what the parent can contribute.
Because they have different perspectives.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And it's only when you work together and really work together and have a positive relationship that you're able to really make the biggest impact.
1,000%. And some of our parents that are maybe not able to come back. I know you did come back with all of Jess's, but some of our parents might have multiple kids, so it's difficult for them to be able to come back. But it doesn't mean that you guys can't still learn from each other, and that there be learning opportunities and generalization opportunities that happen as well. It just looks a little bit different, but it doesn't mean that it has to be any less successful because of the circumstances. If you bring a sibling back, our rooms are designed for kids to want to engage and play and do all the fun things. And so, of course, when a sibling comes back, they're going to want to too. And then it might inhibit what the end goal is there for the client to be able to grow and develop through the play and all the beautiful things that are in the room. And so sometimes it requires a little bit of a separation so that the parent still has the other kid, but outside of the room, so that there is an opportunity to really focus on the one in need. But it doesn't change the fact that there still has to be generalization, and there still has to be an instruction, and there still has to be relationship.
Yeah, I think I can relate. I think I recall being told that I talked to my sister so that she didn't have to for years.
Yeah, that happens.
Can't she need this?
We do see that a lot.
Yeah, so I can see how there might need to be times where the child can actually be by themselves and actually get to do things for themselves without having an older sibling micromanaging them the whole way.
Yes.
She wants to do this, mostly because I want to do this too. But
yes, that's true. And I'll tell you one thing that was really cool recently is to where I have it's an oldest in the birth order. So it's 3 children, and it's the oldest that has just working on a simple articulation. And because the oldest has the role oftentimes in a family, they just it's not that it's an expectation, it just kind of seems to happen.
Right.
They're the caretaker. They kind of are the second mother in a way.
Yeah.
And so in that therapy room, a byproduct of that child being able to come in alone and get undivided attention, you can see the shoulders just lift up. It's less burdened. Mm-hmm. That's a self-imposed burden. It wasn't necessarily an expectation of the parent at all, but it's just that role of I'm not the caretaker in here.
Mm-hmm. No, I can relate. I'm the oldest of 5. And whether or not the expectation is placed there or not, I do understand. I think it is something that non-firstborn children have a very difficult time really understanding, because it's a very different kind of weighted feeling. The fact that you're the first, the fact that there's others younger than you, being so close between the child world and the adult world, because beforehand you were the only child in an all adult world. Yeah. It's just a very different dynamic in a lot of ways, or whether we try to purposefully do that or not. Mm-hmm. And it takes a lot of conscious effort, I think, having been a firstborn, being married to a firstborn, and raising a firstborn, to try to remind her, you are not the parent. Yes. You can let it go. I've got this. I know you don't think I've got this, but I've really got this.
So true. So true. So many things can come out of that 30-minute little therapy session, can it?
It's so true. And, if you have somebody that you have a positive relationship with yourself, where you go, wow, not only do I like this person, but I feel like they like me too. I think that really makes just such a big difference in how much they are able to give to your life. Yeah. Giving, and it really is giving to your life. It's not about necessarily the skills. I mean, yeah, we talk about skills a lot. I mean, it's kind of part of, but it's more about what people give to your life, I think. Having people who say, hey, I've spent a lot of time learning about this, and I've worked with a lot of different families, and I think you guys are fantastic. Let me come alongside and just support you guys. And help you guys figure out what we need to grow next, or to, come into our best selves. And I think that's something that, Melissa, you've always done that in such a beautiful way. But creating across the board has really created an opportunity in our town for us to have a place that has so many different areas where they're able to learn from each other, but also where everyone is guided by somebody who sees the child and the parents and the people first. And the skills, diagnosis, all that other stuff, the insurance, headaches, all of that is secondary. And anyways, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast today, and then also what you do to put into our community. I think that it's such a beautiful and well-needed thing.
Oh, thank you. But I think what the community gives to these employees, to this place, to the across the board, is much greater than what we do to go, because
It's a relationship.
It is. That's our word. That's our word.
That's right. You give and you receive. So anyways, thank you so much for what you give to all of us.
No.
And guys, thank y'all for joining us, and I will see you guys next time.
We hope you had fun listening to today's episode and gained some new insights into the wonderful variety of people in our world. You can find out more about Amy's advocacy work at amybodkin.com. And remember, special needs kids are people too.